Hello, 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 YouTube. This is Derek for Leica101, and we're coming at you yet again today with another video about role-playing games and just some advice. This video was a request video from one of my subscribers asking me how does combat normally go for me as a DM when I'm DMing. Well, combat is usually fast-paced, action-oriented. It's very descriptive. I find that being descriptive adds a lot to the levels instead of just doing the dice rolls. If you're rolling the dice and you say, yeah, you crit, or yeah, your 17 hits, it's nice. However, it's not as good as if you say, yeah, you hit and slash into the forearm of that troll, or you hamstring that human rogue in front of you. These little things, these little descriptive intakes, really bring the combat alive and makes it more than just the dice roll. I also tend to add sound effects when I do, just because it keeps it, keeps the game up going, like with your sword, or clang clang, just silly things sometimes help to really bring a game to life, because it's not always, role-playing games don't always engage all of your senses. So if you can add in those little snippets of sound effects, you're engaging another sense into the game. So it's really nice. Some people might disagree, but that's just how I run combat. I also like to have, in combat situations, I like to make them abnormal situations. Maybe a strange combination of enemies, maybe like a troll and gnolls, or I don't know, just something out there and crazy. So that way when people are like, what? Why would you do those combinations? And then maybe those combinations have a meaning. Maybe I have a quest line where there's a reason that the troll and the gnolls are working together, or something like that. Or maybe it's just a random, encounter in the woods, and the troll overheard the combat with the gnolls and decided to come see what was going on, and then attacks the players as well. So it's not only that with abnormal encounters, but environmental hazards. I know some people do them, other people just tend to avoid them, but if you add environmental hazards, that can be something as simple as a cliff, rain, a heavy snowstorm, blizzard, lightning storm perhaps, or maybe around a lava volcano or something. Just anything to really spice up combat a little bit is always a good addition to how I like to run my combat. And the other thing that I like to do to spice it up is maybe magical hazards. Maybe there's a warded area from a wizard, or maybe it's ancient magic that's been forgotten about in the area, or maybe it's just something as simple as like a trap laid, like a tripwire that knocks down a giant tree or something. Just simple things that add a little bit more to combat. For me, combat should always be fun and never bog down the game. It should be realistic. I had an example one time where even if it was a minor boss fight, and it was me and 5 other players, so a total of 6 in the party, facing down a half-dragon mini-boss. And I was playing a ranger, and another player were shooting arrows. We wasted, and we were counting ammunition, and when we finished the fight, we counted it up. And according to our tally, we used all of my arrows, all of his arrows, and throughout combat we had other people tossing us their quivers. We counted it up to 9, what was it? No, not 9. Excuse me while I think about it. 236 arrows pin-cushioned into this enemy. If you think about that, 236 arrows into this half of your body, the whole front of a person, is kind of ridiculous. I don't know, you'd have to be like pinpoint accuracy all across, little dots everywhere to just constantly be hitting to get 236. So if you've got that much, that many arrows in something, or that much of an oddity of a number coming out like that, then your combat's not being realistic, because realistically, even if he was a half-dragon, a person stuffed with 236 arrows is going to be slowed down, is not going to be moving very well, there's going to be restrictions to the movement. So if you're going to do something like that and you have this strange number of 236 pop up, make sure you're applying these restrictions or limitations to the enemies, because nobody's going to survive 236 arrows. Even if you've got plate mail or something, you're not going to be surviving, and still being fine with 236 arrows, even if you have 300 something health. It's not going to matter, because you're going to be limited in what you can do physically. So in my combat, I try to avoid those situations where, even if it is a boss, if someone says they're coming at you with a great sword and cleaving into you a whole bunch, then it's not a good idea to say, hey, in combat it's just going to do nothing but cause a dent in my arm. The last thing I want to talk about is that combat should be more than just stat work. It should be heart-pounding. It should be invigorating. It should be this moment where everyone's like, oh, we're in combat, what if we don't survive? It needs to be a experience that is fun to go into, but also has its risks. If you're going into combat and you know you're just going to blow out of it because you've got a whole bunch of health and armor, then those situations are nice at times. However, at other intervals, it's limiting to the game, in my opinion. If I know as a player I'm always going to go into combat and come out of it, without a scratch, then where's my sense of danger? Where's my fear at everything going on around me? So if you take the examples that I said and bring forth the realism, and even if they have lots of health, and you add in little restrictions, or you add in strange hazards to the environment where the smallest little thing could set something off that could be catastrophic to you no matter how much health you have, then you're getting this heart-pounding moment where you're like, oh, what could be in this combat encounter that could screw me over? What else is lying behind that corner? Combat to me has always been one of those things where it needs to be scary. Not necessarily always scary. Say you've got a group of level 10s and a tribe of goblins comes and attacks. It's no big deal, but it should still be, wow, it's a lot of goblins. Not be like, ah ha ha, this is just goblins, I'm going to always win. So, like I said, combat needs to be realistic, keep it fast-paced, and a tip to help with keeping it fast-paced is that always have your players ready to go. If they know the initiative order and you come to them, they should know instantly what they're doing, or within 5 to 6 seconds. I hate it when I come to a player and it takes 20-30 seconds for them to tell me what they're going to do, because they've had a whole good amount of time of other players telling me what they're going to do, and I've been keeping track of what everybody's doing to a single monster or a group of monsters, but you can't have your next move ready. It doesn't make sense to me. So what I like to do is, it's not necessarily a punishment to a player, but if within 15 seconds, at the maximum, 15 seconds, someone hasn't told me what they're going to do, they're either getting skipped in combat because they were shocked at the moment of what was going on, or 2, they're going to be taking an attack from something because it's the creature's just going to see them standing there, in the middle of combat, not really ready, and see an opening and take a stab. And you'll find often enough that if that occurs in combat and a player gets skipped like that, next time it's their turn, they're going to be ready, and they will always be ready from that moment on. So that's just one last little tip about keeping combat fast. My combat tends to be fast, action-oriented, descriptive, full of different encounters and different hazards that spice it up. So it's just some of the things that I like to do, and just get a quick discussion about combat goings for one of my subscribers who is interested in how I run combat. I'd be interested to see how everybody else runs combat, if you'd like to take it slower, if you like to avoid combat for the most part, if maybe you like to do more social things and combat only happens once in a while. That's a welcome thing. I'd love to hear about it. So I'd love to get feedback on other people's ways they run combat, and if you disagree with how I run combat, put it in the comments. Let me know what's going on with everybody else, how they run combat. If anybody has any questions or wants to see videos from my channel, just let me know. Put it in the comments. send me a private message, whatever you feel like doing. I'll be glad to help. So this has been Lycan 101 with How I Run Combat. Thanks for watching, guys.